Welcome back to Coffee with Giants. This is the podcast where we sit down with the greatest minds in history to explore the struggles that still shape our lives today. Today we're talking about something deeply human, desire. The kind of desire that can inspire beauty, love and creativity, but that can also trap us in habits we feel unable to control. Why do we keep returning to things we know aren't good for us? Why does the will feel divided, one part wanting freedom, another part pulling us back into the same patterns? Few people have explored this struggle more honestly than the man sitting with us today. Before becoming one of the most influential thinkers in Christian history, he lived a life filled with ambition, pleasure, and restless searching. Saint Augustine. Augustine, welcome to Coffee with Giants. Today, many people know you as a bishop, a theologian, and one of the most important thinkers of Christianity. But your early life looked very different. You once described yourself as someone constantly chasing pleasure and recognition. What was that period of your life like?
It was a life driven by desire. I was ambitious, eager to succeed intellectually and socially. I loved rhetoric, philosophy, admiration from others, but there was also a constant pursuit of pleasure. Relationships, passions, distractions, things that seemed satisfying in the moment but left the soul strangely restless afterward. I often felt as though I was searching for happiness in many places at once, and yet none of them truly satisfied.
You famously wrote a line that has echoed through centuries.
Yes, in my book Confessions, I wrote, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." At the time, I did not yet understand what that rest meant, but I felt the restlessness very deeply.
One of the most fascinating things in your writings is how honestly you describe the inner conflict of the human will. You wanted to change certain habits in your life, but you felt unable to do it.
People often imagine that our will is simple, that if we want something strongly enough, we can simply choose it. But my experience was different. My will was divided. Part of me wanted freedom. Another part of me clung to the very habits that were imprisoning me. I once prayed, "Lord, make me chaste, but not yet," which of course reveals the contradiction of the human heart. I wanted change, but I did not yet want to let go of the pleasures that held me.
So desire can create a kind of internal conflict.
Exactly. Over time, repeated actions become habits, and habits become chains. In Confessions, I described it this way. First we make our choices, then our choices begin to shape us. Eventually they begin to rule us. What once looked like freedom becomes a form of slavery.
Your turning point came in a very unexpected moment. You were sitting in a garden, deeply distressed by this inner conflict. What happened there?
I had reached a point of exhaustion. I was tired of living divided within myself. In the middle of that turmoil, I heard what sounded like the voice of a child nearby saying, "Take and read." So I opened the scriptures and read the first passage my eyes fell upon. It spoke about abandoning the works of darkness and putting on a new life. And in that moment, something within me changed. The struggle that had dominated my life suddenly became clear. I realized that freedom would not come from indulging every desire, but from ordering them rightly.
Today we live in a world where temptation is constant. Endless distractions, endless stimulation, endless opportunities to escape into pleasure. What would you say to someone today who feels trapped in habits they cannot seem to break?
First, I would tell them they are not alone. The struggle with desire is not a modern problem. It is a human problem. The technologies may change, but the human heart remains remarkably similar across centuries. Second, I would remind them that freedom does not come from suppressing desire entirely. It comes from directing it toward what truly fulfills us. Human beings are not meant to destroy desire. They are meant to transform it. And that is an important distinction. Many people believe the solution to destructive habits is to eliminate desire altogether. But desire itself is not the enemy. In fact, desire is one of the deepest forces within the human soul. The real question is not whether we desire, but what we desire most. Desire is like fire. Fire outside its proper place can burn a house to the ground. it can destroy everything around it. But fire in the right place, inside a hearth, inside a furnace, inside a stove, can warm a home, cook our food, and sustain life. The problem is not the fire. The problem is when the fire escapes its proper place. Human desire works in much the same way. When our desires are directed only toward immediate pleasure, they grow stronger and stronger, but leave us increasingly empty. But when those same desires are directed toward higher things, toward truth, love, beauty, and God, they begin to bring order to the soul. This is what I eventually discovered. The heart does not stop desiring. It learns to desire better things. And when our deepest desire is aligned with what is truly good, the same force that once enslaved us can become the force that leads us toward freedom.
St. Augustine reminds us that the battle for freedom is not fought outside of us, but within us. It is a battle between competing desires, between the things that promise happiness and the things that truly bring it. And perhaps the first step toward freedom is simply recognizing the struggle. As Augustine once wrote, "Grant me the grace to do as you command, and command me to do what you will." Thank you for joining us on Coffee with Giants. Until next time.